All right, everybody, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dive in.
Haha, awesome. So today we're tackling something that sounds pretty basic at first,
Yeah,
but as we'll see, it really I don't know, it kind of secretly shapes the entire world around us.
totally.
It's called the value to weight ratio.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. And I was reading this article and it blew my mind how this simple idea,
Yeah.
how much something is worth compared to how much it weighs,
Right.
has such huge implications for global trade and where companies decide to make their products.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna really try to unpack that today and see how it all works.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, just think about it for a second, right?
Heck yeah.
You've got something like a smartphone, tiny little thing, but it's packed with so much technology, so much value.
Right.
And then you've got something like a giant container ship full of iron ore, weighs a ton,
Hmm.
literally, but each individual piece isn't worth that much.
Oh, that's good. That's a really good example.
Right. So, how do those two things travel around the world differently? How do those economics work out?
Yeah. And why does it matter?
Exactly. That's what we're here to figure out.
So, okay, so let's start with the basics.
Okay.
Value to weight ratio. Break it down for us.
Sure. I mean, at its core, it's literally just what it sounds like. You take the value of a product and you divide it by its weight.
Okay.
So, like a diamond, super high value, tiny little weight, that's a high value to weight ratio.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
But then you take something like, I don't know, a bag of potatoes,
Yeah.
lower value, heavier weight, that's a low value to weight ratio.
Okay. I'm with you so far.
All right, good. Because this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay. Hit me.
So transportation costs, right, that's the key here.
Okay.
When you're shipping something with a high value to weight ratio, like those diamonds we talked about, or electronics, or pharmaceuticals, the cost of shipping is like a drop in the bucket compared to the value of the goods.
Right.
So companies can afford to ship those things all over the world to find the absolute best place to manufacture them, in terms of quality, expertise, labor costs, all that.
So it's like the actual location matters less.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the value of the product is so high that they can absorb those transportation costs.
Okay. So then what about the stuff with a low value to weight ratio?
All right, so now we're talking about things like bulk chemicals, lumber, cement, things that are heavy and relatively inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, shipping those things long distances gets really expensive really fast, and it starts to eat into those profit margins big time.
Makes sense.
So in those cases, companies are more likely to manufacture those products closer to their customers, even if it means setting up multiple production facilities in different regions.
Oh, interesting. So they're strategically placed to avoid those huge shipping bills.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance, minimizing transportation costs while still meeting demand.
So it's this one simple ratio is kind of dictating where factories are built around the world.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's one of many factors, of course, but it's a huge one,
Wow, I never thought about it that way.
right? It's pretty cool when you start to see those connections.
It is. And you know what else I was thinking about?
What's that?
This whole value to weight thing has to have some pretty big implications for the environment too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like all those container ships crisscrossing the oceans, all those planes in the air.
Yeah, it's definitely a double-edged sword.
How so?
Well, on the one hand, global trade allows us to access a huge variety of goods and services from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows countries to specialize in what they're good at producing.
Right, right.
But on the other hand, all that shipping comes with a pretty hefty carbon footprint.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a constant balancing act, trying to reap the benefits of global trade while minimizing the environmental impact.
It's like a global puzzle with all these different pieces.
Yeah.
So, okay, so knowing all this about the value to weight ratio, what can the average person do? How can we be more aware of this in our everyday lives?
Well, I think it starts with just being curious. Like
Right.
the next time you buy something, take a minute to think about where it came from, look at the label, do a quick Google search, see if you can figure out why it was made, where it was made.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Right. And think about how far it traveled to get to you.
Yeah, I never really do that.
It's easy to just take things for granted, but once you start paying attention to these things, you start to see the world in a whole new way.
Totally. And maybe make different choices as a consumer.
Exactly. Like maybe you're willing to pay a little bit more for something that was produced locally or something that was shipped using more sustainable methods.
Right, right. It's all about being informed.
Absolutely.
Wow, I'm so glad we did this deep dive.
Me too. It's a fascinating topic.
It really is. So much more to it than meets the eye.
For sure.
Well, on that note, we're going to leave everyone with this thought.
Okay, I liked it.
So, next time you're out shopping, whether it's online or at the store, really take a look at the things you're buying and think about that value to weight ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Could you have guessed where it was made based on its size and how much it costs?
Right.
And does that fit the patterns that we talked about today?
It's a fun little mental exercise.
It is. And it might just change the way you see the world, one purchase at a time.
Totally.
All right, everybody, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. See you next time.
See ya.